The story that we wanted to get to today, too, is there's more news now from Jeopardy. We said this yesterday.
It blew my mind.
Mike Richards was at one point the host of Jeopardy. Now, no one's covered this story as thoroughly as we have.
Yeah, almost every day.
I watched Jeopardy. Watched it again last night with Mayim Bialik. She's really growing on me. I'm a real fan of Mayim Bialik. Her wardrobe leaves something to be desired. And
Her wardrobe.
Yeah, my wife says, man, she's really got some tacky clothes. And I thought, I identify with that.
She's still wearing Blossom clothes?
She wears a lot of Blossom. I like her. I really think she's good. And I think she's going to wind up getting the job.
The replay, that was a replay, that was not the replay you watched because you're on the DVR, was Buzzy again. So they're replaying Tournament of Champions.
I like him.
I think he's really strong.
I
think he kind of got bottomed out there, and I don't know why.
Do you know this? Now, before we get into Mike Richards, who lost his job not only as host, but yesterday as executive producer, my wife told me this, and then I saw it on the news today. Ken Jennings is out of the running because he tweeted 7 years ago, there's nothing sadder than a hot person in a wheelchair. And that one tweet went viral, I guess, and Jeopardy said, we're not hiring you.
Well, I think, like a lot of people, he was trying to be edgy on Twitter.
Right.
Some of his tweets were like that. Maybe that's the one that kind of bubbled up the most.
There were some, as you said, but that was the one that cut through, and so Jeopardy wouldn't hire him. They didn't know, I guess, about Mike Richards' podcast, which we've played a few times. Now, let me play you some podcasts. We got a new one today.
A new random clip.
Mike Richards was, if you don't know, he was executive producer of Jeopardy and at Wheel of Fortune, and he ran The Price is Right at one time. Right after he got the Jeopardy hosting job, a month ago, it comes out, workplace at Price is Right, people didn't like him because there was a pregnant model and he didn't want her featured on camera, and they said that was a hostile.
She said it was hostile.
She said it was hostile.
Yeah.
And he apologized for that, and they went forward. Then, couple of pieces from Random, a podcast he hosted with a friend of his, a female friend, came out. Here's one of them.
Beth got a job being a booth hoe?
What is a booth babe?
A booth slut is someone who dresses up in very provocative clothes.
So he uses the term hoe, slut, and then he did this when talking about one-piece swimsuits.
But they all look terrible in the picture. They look fat and like not good in the picture. It's bad.
Oh my God.
You look great.
Hilarious.
You look like a Sports Illustrated model, and then you've got one-piece Malones on either side of you, which are just horrible.
It's a term that stuck with us. One piece.
That one will resonate.
One piece.
I won't remember Mike Richards, but I'll remember one.
No,
piece
you will
Malone.
not remember. No, You're right. You're probably like, who?
Oh, that guy.
Oh, the guy that did the Jeopardy job. We have one more from Random, and this was, I guess, the straw that broke the camel's back on not only the hosting, but as of yesterday, they said, okay, you're fired as executive producer as well. We mentioned this. How can you still have him in charge of the show if you're not willing to put him on the show? Here's the latest from that podcast.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you ever taken a nude picture?
I'm not answering that question to you, Mike Richards.
Answer it right now to your fans.
No.
Have you?
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
He was in trouble for asking if she had ever taken a nude picture. Now, he tried to defend by saying, look, that wasn't me. I wasn't there that day. But she said,
Mike Richards.
Yeah. What? He went with, I wasn't there.
Oh, really?
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you ever taken a nude picture?
I'm not answering that question to you, Mike Richards.
Michael Richards.
Michael R. Richards.
from Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy and Price is Right. You think I'm answering that about a nude question? No.
Born June 13th, 1967, you were.
Oh,
Man, that's gotcha media.
Nailed.
Gotcha.
Did you ever ask her if she posed nude? No, God, no, I wasn't there during that time. Play. Oh.
That's not an awful question to ask, though.
Exactly.
No.
That's probably what 90% of maybe 50% of podcasts are like.
Yeah.
And 100% of morning radio shows.
Now,
That's not offensive to ask somebody that.
tame.
I mean, if you don't know the person, you ask them. It's
Right.
tacky,
They seem
but-
to be very friendly.
Now, let me ask you this. We've talked about cancel culture a few times before. Recently, Chris Demm and I saw an article by a mentor of ours who said there really isn't any cancel culture because people who get fired for things deserve to be fired for things.
He said the gist of the article was be accountable for what you say.
Exactly. But this guy, he is on a podcast 10 years ago and says some things that, I mean, a little bit edgy, but really not horrible. I mean, a little edgy. And you're told on radio shows and podcasts, look, push the envelope. You know, there are a billion podcasts. You're trying to push the envelope. You're trying to get to be edgy without stepping over that line. Now, he's probably stepped over the line a couple of times, okay?
Maybe. But by radio standards.
Exactly.
Well, he may have stepped over the line if you want to be the host of a nationally syndicated show.
But look what's happened to him now. Now, this was a while back, 8 or 9 years ago, 10 years ago, he's doing this podcast. Then he's executive producer of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. He comes on, he does the show for a week. People like him. They hire him for the job. I agree with Chris Demm that this website, theringer.com, is laying in wait with these podcast things, and they go and get him. They're like, oh, look at this guy you just hired. So now, because he said these things, he loses his job as the host, and he loses his job that he already had as executive producer, which, of course, he would have kept had he never gone for the hosting job. He'd still be hosting. Nobody'd care.
That's right.
We'd never heard of him. He loses, and nobody's going to hire him. I mean, he's been canceled.
Well, not as a host. I mean, he could become a producer, I suppose, and run his own thing, right?
He could do his own, but what other show now is going to say, okay, we'll hire you? It'll take a while.
That's
no
probably
game
true.
shows.
Yeah.
No, I mean, is a game show or a sitcom going to say, okay, we want you now? Look at what happened to Billy Bush.
Yeah, I think in Hollywood you get on the blacklist there.
Well,
that's it.
And I feel like what happened with him, too, was not only was he pushed out of the hosting gig, but then when people found out he was still going to stay on, then that's why I think Sony felt pressure to do that.
Absolutely right. No doubt. But if he hadn't gone for the hosting job, he still had the old job.
Yeah.
Here's what it's like. I mean, honestly, let's say, let's say Dave Aiken goes for play-by-play of the Carolina Panthers.
It's plausible.
That job is coming open. We know the host. We know the play-by-play now.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody with the Carolina Panthers heard you on here talking football and liked you and said, why don't you try out? And you send in a tape and they like you and hire you, okay? But then after you're hired with the Carolina Panthers and you say, oh, great, I've got this new job. Maybe you're doing both, okay? You're going to do the radio job.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, this is a big win for you.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they say, oh, man, he calls girls sugar and honey, and he drops the word slut like no tomorrow. He says slut.
The ones he likes, he calls sugar and honey.
That's right.
Yeah.
What he does, he'll call you a slut in a heartbeat. Okay?
Even if you're a guy.
That's right. And some website, has gotten, they've recorded you saying slut this, slut that, and blow me down. Okay? All right?
Yeah.
All right?
Yes, I'm
then
with
it
you.
comes out. Now, you're a good guy that we know who's, come on. We're trying to make some jokes here.
We are trying to make a little
That's
joke.
a bit strong.
Okay.
You're a guy that we know.
I'm a guy.
But for people that are unfamiliar with you, the website comes out, he's a drunk.
Yeah. No, wait.
He's a womanizer.
Hey. Oh. Wait.
He has spread his seed all over town.
Fact.
Okay, right.
But
So the Panthers say, oh, God, Dave, apologize. Then you apologize, but it's not good enough. And the Panthers say, you're fired.
You're too hot.
You can't do it. So now you've lost that job. Okay, bad enough. Then here, they're saying, well, what's he doing on the air there?
That's right.
And you're going to lose this job, too. It's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right. I don't think what's happened
But
to
there
him is
are
right.
different standards, I think, for different industries. Don't you think?
Podcast, yes, there are. There are different standards, but it's not his fault. He's the executive producer, and they hired him already for that. I don't think he should have lost that job. I mean, he had to now, but, just for what he said on a podcast.
But how did, do you think should he have foreseen this, that somebody's going to get hold of his old podcast and play that stuff? And don't you think back in your history? I mean, there's a reason I'm never going to run for political office. And because they go digging in your stuff.
But everybody now, I mean,
because it's possible.
Yes, but if you dig back into go all the way back.
Yeah, you're not going to get Jesus to host Jeopardy.
Everybody's made mistakes, And when we first talked about this, we got a great email from a P1 who said, isn't the whole point in life to learn from mistakes and grow and be a different person? You're different now than you were 10 years ago.
But personal growth is different than professional growth. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to play. I'm not just trying to be contrarian here, but you can see there are two different paths.
Yes.
You can grow as a person. I bet he doesn't say stuff like that anymore.
Exactly. So if he doesn't say stuff like that anymore and nobody on Jeopardy has a problem with him, or Wheel of Fortune, we haven't heard anything from any problems while he's been there, then should this cost him not only the hosting job, but the job that makes him income, and he's not going to get hired again. And he's going to have to take a big pay cut because of the Billy Bush effect. President Trump says something on a bus with Billy Bush, he laughs along, and Trump gets elected president, and Bush can't get a sniff. You know, he's taking him a while to come back.
It's all about perception, and I'm sure there are people that work at Sony Pictures somewhere that that's a joke. Somebody that does the same thing, they're the same type of person or worse person that works for Sony, but they're not in the limelight.
They haven't bubbled up.
They haven't bubbled, and they may never. They may retire from there. But when you put it out there, and you want to,
once the spotlight's on you,
host the evening news, you want to be head of a game show, or you want to be the president.
Yeah,
they're going to go into your stuff.
I guarantee you never thought I'm going to lose all my jobs over this.
Yeah, I mean, all of those are. He didn't commit any crimes.
And I'm serious when I say, I mean, look at the things Dave has said on the air are, to me, completely innocuous. But you've used the word slut on the air, okay?
Absolutely.
We've all made jokes like this.
Yeah.
So if you did go for a bigger job, you're a good guy. You could take that Panthers job. Yeah. I don't think he may be the exact same. Mike Richards may be the exact same as you. Pretty good guy. Said some untoward things on a podcast 10 years ago. Never thought anything about it.
I know.
Eddie, you're talking about Mike Richards. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're talking about that Ringer article, which is sort of the impetus for everything. But, even though the media has sort of latched on to some of the sort of sketch things he's done in the past, the push for the article was, he was the executive producer, and then all of a sudden he sort of weaseled his way into being the front runner for the show.
That, too.
A lot of people never, from what I have seen and read, a lot of people don't think the process was transparent. They think the fix was in from the start.
Yeah.
I do too.
He's the producer.
I thought it had bad optics on it. I mean, being the executive producer and then getting all the way to the top quickly.
And the whispers were that somebody didn't show up, I'll host for a week.
Yeah.
Oh, I get the job.
Yeah.
I'm the EP.
That's true too. Oh, that's right.
The caller is correct.
Thanks, Eddie.
He kind of tap danced his way to the top there.
We'll say this: the second biggest winner in Jeopardy history, James Holzhauer, tweeted yesterday, "Ding dong, the witch is dead."